The Rogues, number one.
All right, just tell me when to go. You guys good?
Yeah, good.
All right. Bang, bang. Tell me.
Nobody's ever been better.
Now, an historic partnership takes flight as Premier Boxing Champions becomes the newest crown jewel of the Fox Sports universe.
Here we go.
And brings primetime boxing to a whole new level.
Listen to this crowd. Left hook. Ortiz is down. He's out.
Bear witness as the sweet science is reborn.
I promise you.
Welcome to another episode of Against the Ropes. I am Giovanni Garcia. I am alongside Christian Mosqueda, Christian Rodriguez. It's episode 9. What's up, y'all?
Man, hey,
How we doing today?
Doing good. It was an exciting intro for sure for PBC on Fox. Chris, give me your thoughts on that.
No, it was like expected, like last week, right? Remember I was telling you how I was going to close it out?
Mm-hmm.
And regardless, whatever your opinion is, you should be excited.
Yeah.
Because we got at least half of the schedule from PBC on deck already. So what were your thoughts when you first heard it, like as the fights came out?
Let's let people know what we're talking about.
Yep.
So we're talking about the PBC schedule for the first, I want to say the first quarter of 2019, or the first third quarter of the year.
All right, so
it
Premier
starts
Boxing Champions is Al Heyman's stable.
in the first.
They made a deal with
yeah.
Fox, so now we're gonna have big fights.
The first episode is December 22.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Charlos brothers, and then you go ahead and bring up the schedule for January.
So January 13, we have Jose Uzcategui taking on Caleb Plant. And that's no joke right there. That's a good fight. January 26th, we have the return of Keith One-Time Thurman taking on the always tough Josecito Lopez. One time, lady.
Finally.
Finally, he's making a comeback after, going through a lot of injuries.
What else we got?
February 16th, we have Leo Santa Cruz taking on Miguel Flores. The week after that, we have Anthony Durrell taking on Avni Yildirim. Following that, we're going to have Mr. Showtime, Sean Porter, taking on Yordenis Ugas. And we talked about this. We'll talk a little bit more about that, guys. On March 16th, we have the much anticipated fight between Errol Spence Jr. taking on Mikey Garcia. And that's the one that stands out in this schedule. The week after that, March 24th, we have Lamont Peterson taking on Sergey Lipinets. And then April, we see Caleb Truax taking on Peter Quillen. Then he's back. Get chocolate. And then April 20th, we see Danny Garcia taking on Adrian Granados. So, guys, your thoughts?
Wanna go?
Well, obviously the one that stands out is Mikey Garcia against Errol Spence.
Mm-hmm.
That became official. When is that? March?
March 16th.
Mm-hmm.
At the Dallas Cowboy Stadium.
Yep. Pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's obviously the biggest one. That's the one I'm looking forward to. We have Keith returning against Josecito Lopez. Should be good. Should be another knockout for him. What else?
We have Sean Porter.
What other standout?
Another
Sean Porter. Yep.
But Sean, is it a lot? if we see this on paper, guys, you can really, and Chris, we talked about this, you can really see who the red corner is and who the blue corner is.
Yeah, well, these fights are pretty much made to
showcase their skills.
To set up other fights, basically. I guess they're planning on the red corner winning, and then they should be facing each other later on in the year. But it's a good start to the year.
No, yeah, I like you said, the one that stands out is Errol Spence against Mikey, and a lot of people feel some type of way over this fight. A lot of people think that Mikey's too small. He's obviously he believes in himself. That's why he took this fight, but he's taking on one of the very best in the welterweight division. A man that has a lot of power, has a lot of size, and we saw at the press conference, that's the first time that Mikey had a chance to size Errol up, and Errol's a big boy. Chris, what do you feel about that fight? Do you think Mikey sees something?
I mean, he has a lot of he has something that most boxers don't want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, like, step aside the belts. Let's just get in the ring and box the best, right? So like I mentioned, like Mikey Garcia runs the philosophy of high risk and high reward,
Yeah.
right? In this case, you fight for a fight if it's for a belt. You fight for a fight if it's for the money, right? In this case, Adrian Broder for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Sergio Lipinets if it's for the belt, right?
Mhm.
For 140. So yeah, major risk for Mikey Garcia because we saw what happened with that risk regarding Kell Brook versus Triple G, right? So afterwards, his right eye or left eye is not the same anymore, right? And Errol Spence proved it, right? After that.
Yeah.
So hopefully Mikey Garcia, I think the goodest thing is that he's not going to lose in the end.
Mm.
At the end of the day, he already won because he has like everybody in the boxing arena understanding that this guy is willing to get in the ring with anybody, even though he's going to lose. He's going to have a good payday, obviously, right? On pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, too, like his health may be at risk, but he understands that this is about greatness.
Yeah.
Something that most boxers don't want to chase that much,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. This is one of those fights that you could have marinated, and we talk about that M word. He could have easily, waited a year, fight some of these other guys. He had a fight, with Comey, a guy we didn't know about. But
Right.
This is one of those fights that he could have easily marinated, or this could have been easily one of those fights that, doesn't get made for X whatever reason. But you see the greatness in Mikey. He really wants to test his abilities. And, I mean, props to him. Obviously, in my opinion, he made everybody in that room look bad. All the welterweights in that room that were avoiding Errol, he made them look bad. And like you said, even in defeat, you can come out a winner.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you look at the PBC schedule, January, Keith Thurman, March, Sean Porter, and Errol Spence, and Lamont Pearson. April, Danny Garcia. So all these welterweights are all close to each other, meaning that they can fight right away within 2 months. So there's no need for a separation within 3 or 2 months, right? So this sets up really good for PBC for the welterweights towards the middle half of summer or fall. So props to PBC for doing this. And I know a lot of people are going to give a lot of slack for Leo Santa Cruz, right? Fighting that fight.
Yeah.
Keith Thurman for fighting Josecito Lopez, right? But even Sean Porter too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people need to understand that there's a larger picture in this. And people need to understand this is only on Fox. Al Heyman also has Showtime Boxing.
Yeah.
And he has not shown that calendar yet. That's why we still don't know what's going to happen with Gary Russell Jr. We still don't know what's going to happen with Davis, right?
Yeah.
And you never know. And more than likely, this is just my assumption because more than likely it's going to happen. We're probably going to watch a rematch of Deontay Wilder and Fury at Wembley. I'm calling it right now. That should be something worth looking because that should be a two-way fight. So there's a lot of fights that still needs to be put in schedule. But at the same time, too, Al Heyman is smart. He's not going to put the best fighters to fight the best fighters right now.
Yeah.
He's going to let the Zone and ESPN go ahead. Here's my little breadcrumb. And then go ahead and see what you're gonna match it up, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. This is the skeleton pretty much, and it's funny that we see that the Zone's been very active, very busy every week, in and out, and you see the Fox PBC card is like there's a fight almost every other week, So it's he's staying in there. He's staying in there. He's not putting all his cards out there, but he's giving us a kind of like a pathway of where it's going, and that he's competing with his own.
What do you think about all of this, Gio, this whole Premier Boxing Fox thing schedule so far right now?
I don't care. Like I said, I just care about the Mikey Garcia against Errol Spence fight. And everything that people are saying is just very generic, right? Oh, the weight difference, obviously. Everybody knows that. It's not a big surprise. But honestly, if that fight was like a pound-for-pound fight, meaning that if both guys were the same size, I think Mikey would take him out easily. I think the only reason this is a big fight is because of Errol's big size advantage. When you watch an Errol Spence fight, what do you see, Christian? What do you see?
I see power. I see skills.
What skills?
What do you want?
Let's be specific.
And
what do you see? If I had never seen an Errol Spence fight, how would you describe him?
Errol's the type of guy that if he gets you hurt, he can finish you.
He's a body snatcher.
Yeah.
To the body.
He goes to the body, but he can finish you.
All right. What will you tell me?
He's a body snatcher. He's gonna hurt you your ribs.
You know, if you had never seen Mikey Garcia fight, you know what I would tell you that I see in that fight? Everything.
So that's why
Everything.
that's what you were talking
You know,
about.
Errol Spence, how does he win his fights? You just said it, right? He takes everybody out. Has he really been tested?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he got pushed.
Has he been tested defensively?
By Kell Brook, but no, he did not get tested.
No, Kell Brook is stop.
Who
Has
do
he been tested? Has he been tested defensively?
Who has Mikey Garcia been tested?
Oh, he was tested against a Lipinets. Right, bigger guy, stronger guy, and you saw the chin that he possessed, right?
Yeah, Lipinets reminds me of Ruslan.
He also
Provodnica.
fought.
A little bit.
He also fought Adrian Broner, which is a test. I don't care what
No.
people say.
No, it's not, dude.
I mean, you can say whatever
We
you
could
want.
save it for another show.
What did he fight? He also fought the longer Easter, which that's a test.
I think you're
um,
stretching, dude.
I mean, you could call it whatever you want, but if you look at the resumes and the weights that they've been fighting at, like I said, if it was a pound for pound fight, if they're both guys the same size,
yeah, and
it wouldn't even be a fight.
I
Yeah.
get you with that.
I get where you're coming
Even
from.
then, I still think Mikey's gonna beat him. I think the only reason Errol will beat him is just his size. That's
Right.
it. I think skill wise, it's not even close.
I can see that.
Yeah,
and I know
I-
what you mean. And
Do
I
we
think-
even know if Errol Spence has a chin?
We haven't seen him get hit cleanly. I'll give you that. We haven't seen him really get tested. I mean, I think a good test was against Kell Brook. He was fighting overseas. He was fighting, where the crowd is not
Stop
in your
it.
favor. But
that
again-
does,
Kell Brook was Margarito. All you had to do was punch him in the eye, and the fight was over.
no, but that does play a huge role.
Mhm.
I mean, I mentioned this when it came down to the face-off between Triple G and Canelo. Like, there was an episode, but it didn't come out because Triple G came out positive, and that ruined
Mhm.
the whole face-off episode. Triple G said it. Like, during that first fight, he was stage fright. Like, the moment got to him. In this case, Errol Spence, like, he's somewhere at a different country with a different crowd. Everybody's against him. And, yeah, he came up, That's
Mhm.
something that needs to be – that's a variable you need to at least have
take into account.
to take it into account. For sure. But I don't know, as we move on with this fight between Errol Spence and Mike Garcia,
Yeah, because that's the only way he'll beat him, right? Power. He's not gonna beat Mikey with defense. He's not gonna beat Mikey with skill.
and at the
He's
same
just gonna
time
beat him
too,
with power.
yeah, and it's pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's pay-per-view. People want to see action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you said, if Mikey loses, he doesn't really lose.
He doesn't. He hasn't lost.
Yeah.
And Errol, if he loses if he wins, if he beats Mikey, it's like the equivalent of like Crawford beating Lomachenko, right? It's just like, or Lomachenko beating Rigondeaux. What was the first thing that Lomachenko said after the fight? Well, he was a lot
Mhm.
smaller. He's a king in the lighter divisions, but I mean, it's different when you're fighting a guy fucking 30 pounds heavier than, or lighter than you. Like Errol Spence is gonna fight Mikey. He's gonna be a lot heavier. But yeah, props to Mikey for taking that fight. I think he's gonna win.
You gonna put money on that?
No, I'm not gonna put money on that, dude. You're fighting a guy 30 pounds heavier than you.
Mm-hmm.
But that reminds me of Pacquiao. Pacquiao's like the only guy that's been able to do that, like really fight way bigger guys, and
beat him.
And that's what everybody said in the Pacquiao fights. Like when he was facing Margarito catches him, it's gonna be over, right? When he fought De La Hoya, if De La Hoya catches him, it's gonna be over, right? When he fought Mosley, same thing. He was fighting guys way bigger than him. So that's the challenge that Mikey is taking on right now. And if Errol Spence wins, I don't think he's
I was gonna.
not
tell you
gonna
that.
move up in my pound for pound list.
Is there anything positive that you could take away from Mikey for Errol Spence? Let's say, like, what would he need to do to try to convince you to see, like, yeah,
I think the ticket sales are going to be important. I think Canelo sold like 51,000 against Liam Smith in that same stadium. So we'll see how that turnout is in the pay-per-view. I think that's one of the positive things that we can take out of this.
There's some.
If they're able to sell.
It
that
should
fight.
sell because, one, you have Mexico down south,
Yeah.
and then you have Errol Spence. That's his hometown. That's
Yeah.
his area.
Mhm.
So it should be
And
yeah.
Mikey's still gonna have more fans in his own
Yeah.
hometown.
And I was watching one of the Charles brothers. They were saying, "Oh, hopefully I'll be in the undercard." So they're gonna stack up that card, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about Deontay Wilder versus Fury card. But they are not gonna mess around when it comes to pay-per-view.
Yeah.
PBC. I think that's one thing that's gonna happen with PBC. That the zone, and we'll talk about. And now I'll talk about the zone because they're stacking up their card for Canelo too. So I'm seeing a trend when it comes to pay-per-views. They're gonna stack up those cards. So.
I mean, Mikey did say that there's some holes that he sees in Errol Spence's game, and
I mean, skill wise, I haven't seen much from Errol Spence. Just because of his, he hasn't faced like top quality opponents.
I was gonna say that he hasn't been tested enough for him to pull out those skills. Like, he overwhelms people with just one dimension of like the main dimensions. I feel like that he has.
It's kind of like, for me, Errol Spence is like, anything I could do better.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Manny Pacquiao, you saw that fight against Chris Algieri?
Mm-hmm.
You saw the fight between Errol
I hate
Spence
these
and Chris
comparisons.
Algieri?
Oh my god!
No,
Here we go, dude.
no. But it's worth taking into account.
Errol Spence is like 40 pounds heavier than Pacquiao. What do
They're-
you take
but
out of that?
They're in the
There's
same.
nothing to compare.
They're in the same division. That's what I'm taking into account. Because you were talking about same division, same
Just
fighters.
like when Christian would say, "Oh, look at how Triple G ran over guys and did stuff that Sergio Martinez couldn't do." No shit. Sergio Martinez is not a knockout artist, dude. You can't compare them. Different styles.
Yeah. So
Pacquiao didn't have that pop at 147. He wasn't knocking guys out with one punch.
we'll see what
I don't
happens.
know. These comparisons are all, man.
Well, I mean,
We sound like casual fans when we talk about that shit, man.
not really, because I'm looking at a fight that was at welterweight, and Errol Spence killed Chris Algieri compared to what Manny Pacquiao did to Chris Algieri.
So Errol Spence is better now because of that.
I'm not saying that.
Against the ropes.
Against the ropes, number one.
Freddie Roach.
Thank you very much.